Hello again. I spoke the other day about the doctrine of multiculturalism, the idea that immigrants to our country should be encouraged to celebrate their own culture and traditions rather than adhering to those of Britain. This can prove a problem if there are too many people involved in the game, which is, of course, where levels of immigration come into play. There are well over 1.5 million people of Pakistani heritage in this country, and the numbers are rising steeply year on year. 20 years ago, there were just 750,000, that is to say, half as many, and 20 years before that, in 1981, there were fewer than 300,000. Currently, this ethnic group makes up 3% of the British population. This means that if they have a cultural tradition which creates problems for the rest of us, then this problem is likely to be on a large scale. It will be more of a difficulty for society than if a much smaller group adhered to the same custom or tradition that was causing difficulties. Take marriage between cousins, for example. This is very rare in this country among white people, making up just one marriage in 25,000. It's more common among Jews, but there are not many Jews in this country. Among Pakistani families, though, roughly half of all marriages are between first or second cousins. This is where a problem lies. The chief reason that cousin marriages are undesirable is that they hugely increase the chance of any offspring being sickly, dying young, or suffering from some genetic defect or other. In 2014, the results of a research project into the alarming number of young children dying in the Midland city of Birmingham was published. The report of the work, which was carried out in large part by the Enhanced Genetic Services Project under the auspices of the National Health Service in Birmingham, was shocking. It was found that the rate of stillbirths and infant deaths, definitely or probably due to cousin marriages between people of Pakistani heritage, was 38 times higher than that of white European babies. Overall, the incidence of genetic birth defects is 10 times that of the white British population. Academic underachievement in this community is widespread, and according to a survey of children in English schools in 2011, profound multiple learning difficulties are more common among Pakistani and Bangladeshi children. Approximately 3% of the British population is of Pakistani heritage. That is to say, people who were either born in Pakistan or were born to parents whose families have their origin in that country. The infant mortality rate among members of this community is double that of white British babies, which is a pretty shocking figure. The infant mortality rate for babies of Pakistani origin born in Britain is combined with a very high number of stillbirths in which the baby is born dead. This too is running at twice the national average. Not only that, but babies born to parents of Pakistani heritage account for a third of all babies with genetic birth defects, disabilities in Britain. Reflect for a moment on this figure. Just 3% of the population have 33% of the babies with genetic defects. A baby born to parents of Pakistani heritage is roughly 10 times more likely to be born with genetic defects, which in many cases lead to a disability and shortened lifespan. This means, of course, that immigration and multiculturalism have worked together. They've combined to create a huge problem which is very costly to Britain's National Health Service. A custom which has been imported to this country, and that of marrying cousins, means that a third of the expenses associated with children with multiple and profound difficulties is spent on children from this one community who are born because of that custom. Stillbirths and serious complications during pregnancy and birth are also at very high levels in that same community, and they are also a very expensive thing to deal with. As I say, similar problems can be seen in some Jewish communities which are very closed in and married into a small group. You get it in the Orthodox community. I used to do a lot of work in Stamford Hill in London, and the number of genetic defects and birth problems amongst the Orthodox people there, particularly in some of the smaller groups like the Satmar people, very high. Because these are very small communities, though, the effect is not so noticeable. The Pakistani community in Britain is doubling every 20 years, and so every year they take a greater portion of the budget relating to disability in children. Because of a custom which is so widely practiced, Pakistani couple are 10 times more likely to have a baby which is severely disabled. This is just one example of the way that immigration and multiculturalism work together to consume a disproportionate amount of time and resources from the NHS. There are many others, and I'll talk about some of them in future videos. Those who want to look further into this matter can find a few references in the description to this video.